A hotel called me, confused. "Ma'am, we found your diamond bracelet in the honeymoon suite. Would you like us to hold it?" My blood ran cold. I had never been there. "Yes," I whispered. "I'll pick it up." That evening, I walked into the hotel lobby, took the bracelet, and left the front desk a new instruction: charge the room to their credit card. Hours later, someone was kicked out, and I got the last laugh. I was at work when my phone rang. An unknown number. Normally, I'd let it go to voicemail, but something told me to pick it up. "Ma'am, we found your diamond bracelet in the honeymoon suite. Would you like us to hold it at the front desk?" My stomach flipped. Honeymoon suite? I'd never been to this hotel in my life. I stayed silent for too long because the front desk clerk tried again. "Ma'am? Hello?" I swallowed hard and forced my voice to sound normal. "Yes," I whispered. "I'll pick it up this evening." Then I hung up and sat there, staring at my screen, my coffee turning cold in my hands. My boyfriend, Nathan, had been acting weird lately. Secretive with his phone, making up excuses for random absences, getting defensive over nothing. I'd brushed it off as stress, work, or just one of those rough patches in a relationship. But this was a nuclear bomb. I called in sick for the rest of the day. If I was going to do this, I needed to do it right. I arrived at the Westin Grand Hotel in downtown Los Angeles that evening, dressed in my sharpest business attire, all confidence and control. I approached the front desk, trying to keep my hands from shaking. The receptionist, a young man with dark curls and a name tag that read Jordan, smiled politely. "Welcome back, ma'am. How can I help you?" I took a deep breath. "I believe you have my bracelet." Recognition flickered in his eyes. He reached under the counter, pulled out a small, velvet box, and slid it across to me. It was my bracelet. Or rather, it was the bracelet Nathan had given me for our anniversary. It had been in the honeymoon suite. My vision swam for a second, but I forced myself to smile. "Thank you. One more thing, I'd like to pay for the room." Jordan blinked. "Ma'am, the room was already paid for. I'd like to make sure it stays that way," I said smoothly. "Just charge it to the credit card on file. The one that booked it." He hesitated, but hotels aren't in the business of questioning rich-looking women with steely gazes. After a moment, he nodded. "Of course, ma'am." I took my bracelet, turned on my heel, and walked out. I didn't have to wait long. That night, around 11:30 p.m., my phone buzzed. "Nathan, hey babe, weird question. Did you do anything with my credit card?" I didn't answer. At 11:45 p.m., another text. "Nathan, my card just got declined. It says there's a $2,500 charge at a hotel. WTF?" I still didn't answer. Then, at midnight, the final text. "Nathan, what the hell is going on? I just got kicked out of a hotel because of this. I was with a friend. This is insane. Call me." Oh, I bet he got kicked out. The front desk probably told him the charge had been reprocessed for security reasons. The hotel wouldn't care that he'd already checked in. No money equals no room. I turned off my phone and went to sleep with a smile. The next morning, I woke up to about 50 missed calls and texts. Nathan had left me voicemails, half furious, half pleading. "Babe, I can explain, I swear it's not what you think." I texted back just 2 words. "Come over." He arrived looking like absolute shit. Unshaven, wearing wrinkled clothes, eyes wild with panic. I let him inside. He immediately started pacing. "Listen, babe, this is crazy. There's been some kind of mistake. I was just helping a coworker with some personal stuff." I threw the bracelet at him. It landed at his feet with a soft clink. His face turned the color of spoiled milk. "I never went to that hotel, Nathan," I said. My voice was calm. Too calm. And yet, my bracelet was in the honeymoon suite. His mouth opened and closed like a fish. Babe, I can explain, shut up." He did. I reached into my pocket and pulled out an envelope. I had spent the entire day before gathering evidence. Bank statements. Receipts. Screenshots of texts he'd tried to delete. I tossed it onto the coffee table. "I already know about her." Nathan went utterly still. "I know you took her there. I know you've been using our money to fund your little business trips. And I know you're a liar." Silence. Then, he laughed. A bitter, hollow laugh. "You're insane," he muttered. "You had no right to do any of this." That was what set me off. No right? My voice sharpened. No, right? You were planning a future with me while screwing someone else in a goddamn honeymoon suite. He glared at me, but I saw the fear creeping in behind his eyes. You're crazy, he said again, weaker this time. I smiled. Not crazy enough to pay your credit card bill. Nathan paled. I stood up, grabbed my purse, and walked to the door. Before I left, I turned back one last time. By the way, I said lightly, I called your boss. I'm sure he'll find the hotel receipts interesting. His face drained of all color. I walked out and never looked back. Nathan lost his job. Turns out, expensing a honeymoon suite on a company card wasn't a great career move. He also lost his mistress. I have no idea what happened to her, but I do know one thing. She wasn't around to help him pay rent when his accounts got frozen. As for me, I took a solo vacation to Bali with his credit card points. And let me tell you, revenge? It tastes a hell of a lot better on a beach. I was at work when my phone rang. Unknown number. I usually let those go to voicemail, but something told me to pick up. Ma'am, we found your diamond bracelet in the honeymoon suite. Would you like us to hold it at the front desk? I froze. The air felt thick, like someone had just punched me in the stomach. Honeymoon suite? At a hotel I had never been to? I swallowed hard. I'm sorry, what? The receptionist repeated herself. Your diamond bracelet. A housekeeper found it in the honeymoon suite after checkout. We can hold it at the front desk if you'd like to pick it up. I didn't know what to say. I don't own a diamond bracelet. I don't wear expensive jewelry. And I sure as hell hadn't been in any honeymoon suite. But I knew someone who might have been. My hands were shaking. My mind raced. This was a mistake. Had to be. Maybe they had the wrong number. Maybe some woman had given them my phone number by accident. Maybe, or maybe not. I took a deep breath. Yes, I whispered. I'll pick it up. I hung up and just sat there, staring at my screen. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I looked around the office. Everyone was working like nothing had happened. But everything had just changed. I pushed back my chair and stood up. My legs felt weak. I needed to think. I needed to breathe. I grabbed my phone and walked to the break room, my fingers gripping it so tight my knuckles turned white. I pulled up my messages. I found his name. I hesitated. Then I typed, "Where are you?" No response. I watched the little, delivered, notification pop up. Then nothing. I waited. Nothing. I texted again. Call me. Nothing. I clenched my jaw so hard it hurt. I could feel it now. The rage. Creeping in, slow but steady, like a fire catching dry wood. I stepped outside. The cool air hit me, but it didn't help. I needed answers. I needed to see it. So that evening, I walked into the hotel lobby. The woman at the front desk smiled at me. Are you here for your bracelet? I nodded. She reached under the counter and pulled out a small black box. I took it. It was heavier than I expected. I opened it. Inside was a thin, elegant diamond bracelet. Delicate. Pricey. Not mine. I swallowed the lump in my throat. Then I looked back at her. And I said, I'd like to make a room charge. The receptionist nodded, completely unaware that my heart was about to beat out of my chest. Of course, she said, tapping on her keyboard. Which room? I didn't hesitate. The honeymoon suite. Her fingers paused. Just for a second. Then she kept typing. Would you like to charge it to the same card on file? I almost smiled. Yes. She didn't even blink. Just clicked a few buttons and said, all set. Anything else I can do for you? I shook my head. No. That'll be all. I walked out of the hotel, the bracelet still clutched in my hand. I got in my car, but I didn't start it. I just sat there. Processing. Breathing. Waiting. For something. For him. Still no texts. Still no calls. I checked his location. Disabled. Interesting. I stared at my phone, debating my next move. And then, as if the universe knew I needed a push, my phone dinged. Not a text. A bank notification. $726.43 charged to, hotel name, guest services. That did it. I gripped the steering wheel so hard my nails dug into my palms. That wasn't a mistake. That wasn't random. That was his card. The one we shared. The one he always used for trips, for work, for other things. The rage boiled over. I took another breath, then another, but it wasn't working. I needed to act. I scrolled through my contacts and dialed a number I hadn't called in a long time. It rang twice before she picked up. Hello? Her voice was warm. Familiar. I swallowed. Hey, Mom. A pause. Then, honey? Are you okay? I closed my eyes. No, I admitted. But I will be. I gripped the bracelet in my palm until it hurt. I need a favor. Another pause. Then, in that no-nonsense voice I knew so well, she said, tell me what you need. And just like that, I had a plan. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. I had options. But first, I needed confirmation. I needed to see the look on his face when he realized I knew. I drove home, my fingers tight around the wheel. My heart was hammering, but my mind was clear now. The shock had passed. Now there was only focus. When I pulled into the driveway, his car wasn't there. Of course it wasn't. I stepped inside, my stomach twisting at the familiarity of it all. The framed photos, the throw blanket on the couch, the scent of his cologne lingering in the air. A home built on lies. I walked straight to his office. Opened his desk drawer. Pulled out the spare key to his other car, the one he only drove when he didn't want to be seen. The one that wasn't registered in his name. The one I had only ever seen parked in places I wasn't supposed to ask about. I shoved the key in my pocket and walked out. I had a feeling I knew exactly where he was. I pulled up outside the hotel again, but this time, I didn't go inside. I parked across the street and waited. 10 minutes. 20. Then, finally, movement. The doors to the hotel slid open, and there he was. Hair messy, shirt untucked, looking around like a man who knew he had something to hide. And he wasn't alone. A woman stepped out behind him, laughing at something he said. Her heels clicked against the pavement as she reached for his arm. She was tall, blonde, dressed like she had somewhere expensive to be. I felt nothing. Just confirmation. She leaned in, kissed his cheek. And then he handed her my car keys. She smiled, tossed her hair over her shoulder, and walked straight to his other car. My car, my house, my life, and this man had just handed a stranger the keys to it all. She got in, started the engine, and drove away. I didn't move. Not until he turned back toward the hotel, pulled out his phone, and saw his bank notification. His whole body went stiff. Then he started frantically typing. Seconds later, my phone buzzed. Him, WTF? I let it ring. Then another. Him, call me now. I smiled. And then, with slow, deliberate movements, I texted back. Me, enjoy your stay. And hit send. The phone started ringing again. I watched his name flash on my screen, the little vibrations rattling against my palm. I let it ring out. A second later, another text. Him, what did you do? I could picture him now, standing outside that hotel, panic setting in. Checking his pockets, realizing he'd lost control. For once, he was the one scrambling. For once, he didn't have the upper hand. I tossed my phone onto the passenger seat, started my car, and pulled into the hotel's parking lot. I wanted to see his face when he realized exactly what had happened. As soon as I stepped out of my car, he spotted me. His head snapped up, eyes wide, phone still in his hand. I didn't rush. I didn't raise my voice. I just walked up to him, slow and deliberate. The closer I got, the more I saw the cracks forming in his expression. Where's my car? I asked. His mouth opened, then shut. He swallowed. I can explain. I tilted my head. Oh. You can explain? He exhaled sharply, running a hand through his hair. He wasn't just nervous. He was scared. And that felt good. She needed a ride home. I smiled. And so you gave her my car? She was stranded. His voice was pleading now. It's not what you think. Not what I think. I let out a short laugh. Then tell me, what am I supposed to think when I get a call from a hotel about a bracelet I never lost, in a room I've never been to, and then I find you? I motioned toward the hotel, walking out with her. He blinked rapidly. The excuses were forming, I could see them. Then his face twisted. Why the hell would you charge the room to my card? Oh, there it was. The shift from panic to anger. The moment when the cheater stops feeling guilty and starts feeling wronged. You used our money to cheat on me, I said calmly. So I figured you wouldn't mind using your money to pay for it. His jaw clenched. You're being crazy right now. I laughed. Am I? Because from where I'm standing, the only crazy thing I did was trust you. His face flushed red. He took a step forward. Look, let's just go home. We can talk about this there. I shook my head. There is no we anymore. The hotel doors slid open again, and I didn't even have to turn around to know who it was. I heard the click of her heels before I saw her. I felt his whole body stiffen. He turned around fast, like he was hoping he could stop whatever was about to happen. But it was already happening. The blonde woman, his other woman, stepped outside, staring at the two of us. And she was pissed. She stormed right up to him, stopping just a foot away from where we stood. You told me you were single. Her voice was sharp. Accusatory. His eyes darted between us. And you told me that car was yours, she snapped. He looked at her, then at me. The silence stretched. And then it all clicked. She hadn't just been his mistress. She had been his next target. He wasn't just cheating. He was setting up a backup plan. My stomach turned, but I didn't break. Not in front of him. Not in front of her. Guess he didn't tell you that's my house too, huh? I said, looking at her. Her lips parted slightly, the reality setting in. She inhaled sharply, then turned to him. Are you kidding me? You were playing both of us? Babe, her hand flew out before he could finish. A sharp, stinging slap across his face. He staggered back, shock flashing in his eyes. People in the parking lot turned to look. The valet guy actually whistled. The woman gave me one last glance, just a flicker of understanding, of regret, and then she walked off. And now it was just the two of us again. The weight of everything pressed down on him. And me? I felt lighter. He took a breath, then spoke, quieter now. You didn't have to do this. I raised an eyebrow. Do what? Make a scene, he muttered. I let out a sharp laugh. I made a scene. I gestured at the hotel. You got caught cheating in the most pathetic way possible and now you're mad I didn't just let you get away with it? He clenched his fists. You don't understand. Oh, I understand perfectly, I said. I understand that you lied, you cheated, and you were planning to just move on when you got bored. He didn't deny it. And that was enough for me. I nodded slowly, backing away. Enjoy your room, I said. You paid for it, after all. I turned on my heel, walked to my car, and got in. He didn't follow. Didn't say another word. Just stood there. I drove away, not looking back. And when I got home, I locked the door behind me. The silence of the house felt different now. It wasn't full of betrayal anymore. It was full of freedom. And as I took a deep breath, for the first time in a long time, I felt relief.